Imagine a drone army of Mark Zuckerberg clones stomping on a human face forever.
So please excuse my sarcastic tone. I'm a bit underwhelmed by the sample shown. Mr. Piss-drunk fraternity guy, you got my ass full of bloodshot eyes. Get drunk and fight every night. Idolize Bradley, belittle women's rights. Homophobic, racist, and don't give a fucking hey. Do you think you can drive a bigger truck? So wear your baseball cap to decide to let everyone know that you're a nice guy. So cool, we're so impressed. Lots of chicks and a barrel chest. Cause you're a real man. Punch for punch, gonna piss in your face while you're passed out drunk. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. He's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. She's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planets. I just can't understand it. But could divine by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, jerk off. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, jerk off. Read into the lyrics, cause everybody gets their just desserts. As long as you remember that nice guys finish first. You're next on the list. Such a nice guy who speaks through his fists. Prick with a penchant for messing with heads. A broken nose for dinner and breakfast in bed. Alcoholic, paranoid, and suicidal too. But you'll probably kill her before she gets away from you. Screws in a pool of blood and cry. All your friends say that you're a nice guy. Have a drink, this one's on me. Look, you're doing fine, losing to your disease. Comatose, I'll pack your bags. Bury you like castrated and gagged. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. We're all nice guys, but all of you are assholes. He's a nice guy, she's a nice guy. Hey, Tom Bone's a nice guy. All of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planet. The public commented. Put a body by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, jerk off. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, jerk off. Read into the lyrics. So let the bloody spill quench your thirst. As long as you remember that nice guys finish first.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Plex. We do the show live every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. You can support this project by going to echoplexmedia.com. Click the support link at the top of the website, and obviously people who are watching live on Twitch know the deal as far as monetization goes here. I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr, and this is what the people want.
I don't hate the cops. There's a person inside when the truncheon stops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Oh, when the raiders come, who will protect the shops? Don't hate the cops. They're a sensitive bunch if you don't stop throwing your rocks. Snap, crackle, pop is the sound of a taser. Your body drops. Don't hate the cops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops. Oh, don't hate the cops. like your local police. Cause they don't do nothing wrong like your local police. Got rid of the corruption and the racism is gone. They've been keeping the peace, keeping homeless folks out of the parks and malls. Got a cure for your social disease. Follow the law, don't hate the cops. 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 Put your hands above your head and show you're not afraid. I'm the fairest judge that your skin color's gonna get. And if you die before the sun comes up, the paperwork will take forever. Well, it might have worked out a little bit better if you didn't hate the cops. Because they don't do nothing wrong, don't hate the cops. You can't blame them for just doing their job, don't hate the cops. Well, you gotta wonder, how much would it cost for you to be shot at and stabbed at by maniacs and drunks? Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops.
All right, everybody. Up first, Tim Walz was asked about the election, and people in the comments on this post were a little bit mixed. So I didn't watch the video, but I thought it might be interesting to hear what he has to say, because he's, my politics are a little to his left or whatever, but he seems like a practical kind of guy, and maybe he might say something good here instead of just like blaming the wokes. We'll see though.
But this issue around healthcare and the issue around Medicare and the things we're talking about, we've got people now that are exactly like this story, worried about basic human right of healthcare and decency in their life. And I own this. The idea that millions of people stayed home because they didn't think there was any difference between Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, and myself on the ticket, they didn't think that. And we need to acknowledge that. I think one of the reasons is that when Democrats have been in power, we've been timid about passing things that make a difference on their lives. And why do we have citizens that are in this situation? Why are we at that point when we are the richest nation on earth and yet our outcomes are 41st and we spend twice as much as any nation next to us? We should demand a redo of this system in a way that makes a difference on that, because I think it's very hard that we have to win elections, but good politics follows good policy. And the ACA was an improvement, but let's be honest. The ACA is still a pain in the ass to get things paid, to get things done. It's important protection like pre-existing conditions, but it's still too expensive. And so what I would say to you is, we need to tell your son that we need a healthcare system that he doesn't have to worry that one election could throw him out and into the streets, that one election would make a difference.
Okay, that was not exactly what I assumed it was going to be. I thought it was going to be about the election, but I mean, he's right on healthcare, but these people, I wonder what he was saying about Bernie, like in 2020 and 2016. I mean, I don't know. But I just wonder if he was saying anything, because there's like only one like prominent person like on the Democratic side that was really for it. Kamala Harris was for it, if you remember, in the 2020 primary when they asked who thought that there should be a single payer. Kamala also raised her hand with Bernie, and then never fucking said nothing about it ever again, actually, which is a little bit weird. So that was not what I expected, but sort of tone wise and tone wise, it was definitely what I expected. And I don't know, maybe Tim Walz should keep going. Maybe he should think about running maybe in 2028. He's still fairly young, and we'll see what's happening. So I have a few clips here about Mahmoud Khalil, and first we have Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. He was asked basically what warranted this, like what was the reason for this person having their visa revoked, or I think it was green card actually, because they were here on a student visa and then got their green card. And here's Mike Johnson's dumbass answer to that question.
First day in office, give the president a chance to have these policies play out. That's where we are on it.
Mr. Speaker, in your estimation, what crime did Mahmoud Khalil commit to warrant his arrest, detention, and the potential revocation of his green card?
Let me tell you something. I went face down the angry mob at Columbia at the height of that stuff, when the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protesters were there. I'm telling you, this is my own.
You're going to have a hard time finding anybody in the United States who is like, oh, fuck yeah, Hamas. Pro-Hamas, fuck out of here. It's one thing to be like, well, I understand why someone in that situation might join a group like Hamas. That is a very different thing than fuck yeah, Hamas, which is, I think he probably thinks those are the same.
And I read in the newspaper, it was dangerous. I met with Jewish students before we went to campus who were holed away off campus because they were instructed by the administration not to come to class, which they paid for.
No, get the fuck out. Were they? I'm not buying this. I'm not buying this. A lot of the organizers and a lot of the protests, some of the people organizing these protests were like Jewish students.
Physical safety. The administrators there refused to take control of that campus. They refused to allow the PD to come, the police department to come in and take control, and it turned into a chaos. The president has since been removed.
What happened? They did like a sit-in. They did like a sit-in. Like what would it? I don't even think they fucking spray painted anything or anything. I think it was pretty fucking well behaved fucking protest from what I understand. It was just inconvenient for this guy. That doesn't mean they're like violent or that anybody should be in fear for their lives.
They got the same problem again. Columbia and other universities, they have to keep control of campus. The first responsibility of an administration is ensuring the safety of the students who are paying tuition to be there. For crying out loud.
Was anybody injured in the protests?
Has to stop. We have to get control of it. This guy apparently was a mastermind of those very things, when the gnashing of teeth and the ripping of clothes and the people screaming at me, wanting to rip me limb from limb because I was there talking about...
The gnashing of... What is gnashing of... It fucking sounds like what this guy's doing is the clutching of pearls. Like nothing happened. This guy was safe there. The people were like yelling at him and didn't like him. But I don't think he was in any physical danger there.
Clarity and how there's a right and a wrong. They were doing that. They disrupted the campus. They were threatening physical violence to their fellow students. If you're on a student visa, I'm going to say this clearly. If you are on a student visa and you're in America and you're an aspiring young terrorist who wants to prey upon your Jewish classmates.
I'm sorry, an aspiring young terrorist who wants to prey upon your Jewish class. This is bullshit. This narrative is bullshit.
You're going home. We're going to arrest your tail, and we're going to send you home where you belong. And this is just getting started. So, look, I appreciate free speech. I used to defend it in courts, but this is far beyond the pale of that. When you were threatening your classmates and spewing anti-Semitism and all this hatred.
No. If this was the case, if this person was doing like any of that stuff, if there was any this would be all like social media posts. Social media posts and stuff would be everywhere about this person, showing them saying X, Y, and Z about like their Jewish counterparts at the university. But I haven't seen any such thing. I mean, I don't see the entire world, obviously, but if that stuff was out there, it would be front and center, and this guy would be like reading this person's posts.
It's enough, and I think the American people understand that. They're supporting it, and I'm glad we have a president who's strong enough to lay down the law. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, but it's...
Okay, that was Speaker Johnson. He's got a lot on his plate today, and somebody who...
But it's not... No, he doesn't have a lot on his plate. He's got a lot of bullshit on his plate today. It is not against the law to, like, protest an occupation. Like, this is it's so fucking stupid. The framing on this is all wrong. I also like, he's like, oh, I'm all for free speech. I used to defend it in court. Well, you know, I've seen people with the super intelligent take, well, this was not a U.S. citizen. And I'm like asking them, I've read the First Amendment. It doesn't even really talk about citizenship in any way in the Constitution. It wasn't the Constitution, like, even I think the way that they defined like their country people or even country was different then. And it certainly doesn't talk about citizenship. So people shouldn't be afraid to come to the United States because they have like wrong think or wrong speak. That's actually not freedom of speech, right? This is dumb. All right, here's the president of the United States and apartheid Clyde in front of one of those Incel Camino vehicles. Also speaking about Mr. Khalil.
And President Trump, there's this protest leader from Columbia University that the administration is moving to deport. He said that his arrest is going to be the first of many. How many?
I think we ought to get them all out of the country. They're troublemakers. They're agitators. They don't love our country. We ought to get them the hell out. I think that guy, we ought to get him. I heard his statements too. They were plenty bad. And I think we ought to get him the hell out of the country.
What statements?
I watched tapes specifically. I watched tapes, and you can have them. Okay, you can have them.
I watched
and
tapes.
You can have the rest of them. Let them go to school. Let them learn. Columbia used to be a good school. Now it's been overrun because of bad leadership. That's what happens. Happens to countries, and it happens to universities, and it happens to companies. And
I saw the tapes. What tapes? Where is all this stuff that everybody's talking about? Why, if this person was just like doing like the things that the Republicans and other like sort of like, I guess, propagandists, like pro-Israel propagandists are saying that he's doing, why is it not all over the place? Why is InfoWars not running it? Why is it not running 24/7 on Fox fucking News? To some extent, you would even think it would end up running 24/7 on CNN. So I don't think this stuff is out there as it's being described, but the problem is that it doesn't matter. Like, it legitimately doesn't fucking matter. I mean, it matters to you and me, but as far as like the national conversation, to the extent that we can even call things that anymore, it doesn't fucking matter, because the people who are like inclined to believe that because the dude's first name is Mahmoud, that he must be a fucking terrorist, if they're inclined to believe that, then they're not going to like follow up on any of this, try to figure out what was the guy saying. And so they don't need to run any of it. And it's just it's a fucking smear job. Up next, we have a White House briefing talking about how Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, has the right to just revoke, I guess, anybody's visa or green card, which seems like a bad thing for the Secretary of State to be able to do unilaterally.
Rubio reserves the right to revoke the visa of Mahmoud Khalil, and I'm glad you brought this up. Under the Immigration and Nationality Act, the Secretary of State has the right to revoke a green card or a visa for individuals who serve or are adversarial to the foreign policy and national security interests of the United States of America. And Mahmoud Khalil was an individual who was given the privilege of coming to this country to study at one of our nation's finest universities and colleges. And he took advantage of that opportunity, of that privilege, by siding with terrorists, Hamas terrorists who have killed innocent men, women, and children. This is an individual.
So where's where is this? I've seen the tapes. It's, everybody knows it. Well, where is it at? Where's the siding with Hamas? Where's that at? Where's it at? Like, whatever, like he had not received his citizenship yet, and anybody on a green card or a visa is in a somewhat precarious position. Sure. But like, where is it? Where's it at? Where the fuck? Let's see it.
who organized group protests that not only disrupted college campus classes and harassed Jewish American students and made them feel unsafe on their own college campus, but also distributed pro-Hamas propaganda. Flyers.
So where's the pro-Hamas propaganda? Like, it doesn't even have to be something that this guy distributed. You could just show us something that you claim is pro-Hamas propaganda, and then other people believe it. You're not even showing us that. Here is Alina Habba. I don't know if she's still the president's attorney. I think she is. So we have a "You may not hand out pamphlets" that I don't like. It seems to be the case here now. Here we go. Took it a second.
That list of colleges and universities who failed to stop anti-Semitism, it could be as many as 60 schools. I want to get your thought on that, because this is just like a national disease that has to be cured.
Yes, I agree with you. My husband is Jewish, and I can just say that the disgusting, despicable behavior of these anti-Semitic protests, these Hamas-influenced children, and I feel sorry for them.
So, first of all, Hamas-influenced, that's interesting. Children, people at the university are generally young adults, 18 and over. There are a few 17-year-olds probably, maybe even some precocious 16-year-olds at the university, but they're young adults, not children. It's not children.
Not so much, because you're not allowed to come in and hand out pamphlets in our country and try and infiltrate those
Wait, no, you totally are allowed to come and hand out pamphlets in America. Well, she's wrong. You're totally allowed to hand out pamphlets here. This is incorrect. Listen, I'm not a pamphlet expert. I'm not even that much of an America expert, but I know you're allowed to hand out pamphlets here.
Terroristic thoughts, those anti-American we are an inclusive group of individuals. We are not pro-terrorism. We are not going to support that. And if you bring that into our country, you can get the hell out. And that's been very clear by President Trump, by the arrest that he made of the student from Colombia who had no business being here, let alone sending out pamphlets and scaring other individuals that were just there to get an education.
And the issue.
Who are the individuals that were scared? They keep talking about these fucking, we were with the student groups and they were afraid to go to campus. Who? Like, who was afraid to go to campus? This is all just because it's somebody from, the name is Mahmoud and they're from, unfortunately, I haven't looked too deeply into this. I don't know what country they're here from, but handing out pamphlets, like, this is all totally legal. Again, they're not. Anybody ever is showing the pamphlets anywhere? What was in the pamphlet? Oh, they're not showing the pamphlets. I find that interesting. You know what? It's because they're too terrible. They're too awful. I just couldn't possibly show you the pamphlet. Well, we'll keep an eye on this, although I have a feeling that the mainstream media is going to largely ignore this, and the Democratic Party is not going to try to do anything anything actually about this. So the president, Donald Trump, gave a speech at the Department of Justice, and it's this is kind of seemed to fly under the radar a little bit this week. But I saw this, and some of this stuff is kind of troubling.
And I believe that CNN and MSDNC, who literally write 97.6% bad about me, are political arms of the Democrat Party.
The imagery here, if you're listening on the podcast, this isn't funny, but the imagery, they got fucking a Mike Pillow sale like right next to Donald Trump while he's fucking doing this. Oh my God.
And in my opinion, they're really corrupt and they're illegal. What they do is illegal.
Why? Oh no! Telling also the DOJ is supposed to be like a separate entity from the president. But I guess that doesn't matter. But this is not great to be telling people at a DOJ gathering this kind of stuff, right? We got more. Thought about running this in its entirety, but I didn't know if we should do it during red light or whatever, so I decided not to run this in its entirety. Here's more of his remarks, we'll call them, at the DOJ.
And these newspapers are really no different than a highly paid political operative. And it has to stop. It has to be illegal.
Has this guy ever met anybody that works at a newspaper?
It's influencing judges, and it's really changing law, and it just cannot be legal. I don't believe it's legal. And they do it in total coordination with each other. And everything we do, we're restoring law, restoring order, and restoring public safety in America. That's what we want to do.
What are the newspapers doing that's illegal? Is it what? They're not highly paid. Like, there's only like the only like, I guess the only money floating around there is like oligarch money, because oligarchs are buying up some media outlets, I suppose, like Jeff Bezos. I forget who owns the LA Times, but it's another oligarch. Like, these are not, the people that work there are not highly paid, and it's totally not illegal to publish bad shit about the president. I mean, I feel like it's fucking crazy making, even having to say that.
People you don't even want to know about. But as many of you do know, well, we're focused on persecuting, and these people were really focused on persecuting Republicans. The last administration presided over the worst increase in violent crime in our country in many, many decades. We had
that's probably not true.
Levels of violence and crime, and a lot of it had to
I don't think that's true. I think violent crime, a little uptick during COVID, and then directly after, and then it went back down. I'd like to introduce this guy to the mid-90s. Oh, but many, many decades. I guess it depends how many is many, many. Yeah, like there's a comment under this on Twitter. It says, Grok says violent crime went up during Trump's first term and down during Biden's. But it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter, right? Because this tough on crime shit, they always just pin it on liberals and leftists, right? And they always act like it's the cities are terrifying, and then you go look and it's like, well, I don't know, the violent crime rate in the cities is low, relative, especially historically. And then you go look at, like, I don't know, fucking Shasta County, California, for example. The violent crime rate there is quite a bit higher than a lot of big cities. We got one more clip from this DOJ talk that he gave.
The American people have given us a mandate and really a far-reaching investigation is what they are demanding into the corruption of our system. And that's exactly, I'm sure, what Pam and Cash and everyone else mentioned here and not mentioned is going to be doing. We will expel the rogue actors and corrupt forces from our government. We will expose and very much expose their egregious crimes and severe misconduct, of which was levels you've never seen anything like it. It's going to be legendary. It's going to also be legendary for the people that are able to seek it out and bring justice. We will restore the scales of justice in America, and we will ensure that such abuses never happen again in our country.
This is all just right here. So the media one was like a little bit like, whoa, dude, you're trying to say that it's illegal for the media to fucking publish shit that you don't like? This stuff here is, I think, a little less concerning in some ways, because this general talk, like, about like generic corruption, I think even people who might be duped by some of this guy's other bullshit, like, aren't necessarily buying into that, like, because you can always say that there's corruption and that there's, malfeasance or whatever, because that's the way systems work. There always is. But, like, again, we're not getting any specifics really. And in the end, it's just, when he says corrupt, he just means disloyal to Donald Trump. And I think a lot of people are catching on to that. I don't think that the Democrats, as we, like the first clip where Tim Walz was talking about differentiating themselves from Trump and J.D. Vance. I think one of the places they really didn't differentiate themselves was on this idea that, like, or on not this idea, the fact that, that the Trump administration was just going to go after you if you're disloyal. And I guess he thinks the press is disloyal, but he's always thought that the press was disloyal. And if I was I don't know. I guess I'm a journalist of a sort. I'm disloyal to everybody. Fuck everybody. The only person I'm loyal to is myself. So now we're going to move on to some tariff talk. This is tariff talk with the press secretary.
He's actually not implementing tax hikes. Tariffs are a tax hike on foreign countries that, again, have been ripping us off. Tariffs are a tax cut for the American people. And
Oh, yeah, the foreign companies, you know what they're going to do? They're just going to absorb the expense.
The president is a staunch advocate of tax cuts. As you know, he campaigned on no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security benefits. He is committed to all three of those things, and he expects Congress to pass them later this year.
I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have.
They
don't get charged on foreign companies. They get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people have not seen in decades, as I said at the beginning, revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And I think it's insulting that you are trying to test my knowledge of economics and the...
Oh, I don't want you to test my knowledge of this stuff that I'm talking to you about. Well, then why are you saying it? Yeah, he's right. The tariffs, they don't get, we can't just go into another country and charge the tariff. The tariff gets charged at the port. Yeah, the tariff get charged at the port. Where the fuck else will we charge it? We can't just go to London and charge a tariff on something, can we? Here we go. This is the president. The tariffs are going to make us so rich. They're going to make us so rich. You won't even know what to do with all the fucking money.
Where are we? Are we just about? We're just about ready to land.
Are you worried about a recession? Maria Martiromo asked you, and you kind of hesitated.
I'll tell you what. Of course you hesitate. Who knows? All I know is this: we're going to take in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. And we're going to become so rich, you're not going to know where to spend all that money. I'm telling you, we're going to have jobs. You're going to not know. It's going to be great. And the plane is landing. And thank you for a lot of good questions. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
We're going to collect the tariffs. We're going to get so rich that you're not going to know where to spend all the fucking money. I don't listen. What does this guy think happens? Like, I mean, he must know, right? Like somebody has to have told him, right? That like, what happens on a tariff, right? If there's, let's say, there's a couple upgrades to this that I've been looking at, a couple items I want. Let's say, and I don't want this, but there's something I know the approximate price of, right? Let's say I want a new audio interface. I don't. I'm happy with the audio interface I have, but let's say I want a new audio interface. That fourth generation Focusrite 18920 is looking awful nice. I think it's around $550. That's from China. If there's a 25% tariff on China, that thing goes up somewhere in the neighborhood of what, $150, $175. It just does, because what, Focusrite isn't going to pay it. The people that are importing it aren't going to pay it. Fucking Amazon's not going to pay it. PayPal's not going to pay it. So who ends up, I mean, the fucking shit rolls downhill, friends, and then I end up paying it. And that's fine. I mean, that's not an item that I need right now, but I'm just saying it was just something off the top of my head that I generally know the price of. Or what if I want a new camera that's $200, right? That's easier. 25% tariff on that is more or less going to make my cost $250 on it, assuming that no one else puts their hand in the cookie jar and tries to blame it on the tariffs, which I think, someone else would put their hand in the fucking cookie jar and try to blame it on the tariffs. Because this is America. This is Commerce Secretary next, Howard Lutnick, on tariffs and the deficit.
But it sounds like you're saying, trust us. And are you worried that at some point Americans are going to feel like there's a bunch of billionaires in Washington who are playing Russian roulette with our retirement?
$2 trillion deficits don't bother you at all. How could you ask me, while we're running a $2 trillion deficit, and not care? You're destroying The people who have run this country before are destroying the future for my children and my children's children. I can't have a 50, 75. We have a $36 trillion deficit. And then we used
that's
to
a
run
debt.
deficits of 400 billion.
Deficit and debt are different. There's a $36 trillion total debt. It sounds like a lot. You start dividing that by 350 million. It's still kind of a lot, but it's, we're not leveraged that hard, actually.
Billion. Now 2 trillion. Everybody's like, who cares? I tell you what, who cares? Donald Trump cares. And when we balance the budget, you know what that means? That means our deficits stop. Interest rates come smashing down. His goal is to have
interest rates can smash it down.
Internal revenue. The way I think about it, we all are so used to paying taxes. We're so used to it. We have like Stockholm syndrome. Don't stop the Internal Revenue Service, God forbid. How about this? The rest of the world leans on our economy, breathes off our economy. Not only is our economy $29 trillion GDP, but we consume $20 trillion a year. We are the buyer of everybody's stuff. We buy everybody's stuff. So
yeah, but that's bad. That's the fucked up part, is that we just when the going gets tough, the fucking tough go shopping here in America. That's been that way for a while.
Who's more important, the people who sell stuff or the people who buy stuff? So we are the buyer of everybody's commodities, products, goods and services. Everything comes from us, right? Let them pay a membership fee. We all understand that model.
Dude, they're going to fucking pass that on to me. They're not going to be like, oh, well, thanks. Now we're a member. No. This microphone's going to be $60 more.
Hey, how about we, you and I, and every single person we know pay less? How about no tax on tips? How about no tax on overtime? How about no Social Security? How about all those things?
He meant no tax on Social Security, but he also probably meant no Social Security. Or, what if he meant no FICA? What if he meant no FICA? Or is it FICO? I forget what it is. What if he meant no Social Security tax on your income? But I think he meant like no taxes on your Social Security, and he just misspoke, but also maybe not.
These are the kind of thoughts that will change America. I know what his goal is. No tax for anybody who makes less than $150,000 a year. That's his goal. And that's what I'm working for.
This guy's like lower. He's like suggesting that like China's going to pay so that you don't have to pay taxes. And that's really stupid. This is like the dumbest version of this possible. I don't think anybody believes this, but I don't think that doesn't mean that dumbasses on the internet aren't going to repeat it. But I don't think anybody believes this. I think people, they don't understand. I think they do, right? You're going to see two fucking things. You're going to see basically goods from two places or where it's going to hit everybody. Mexico, especially here in the West Coast and maybe like Texas and everywhere kind of in between. We get a lot of fucking produce from Mexico, like a lot. And not just that we get a lot of produce. There's a lot of produce that comes from Mexico that is like high quality and lower, like low cost. I know because the bougie fucking produce market near me. All the good stuff that's cheap, it all says MX right by it. That means that it came from Mexico. And if that stuff goes up 25%, that's no longer the good stuff for cheap. It'll still be competitive, but it's no longer the good stuff for cheap. People are going to see that. And then they're going to see it just on anything you plug into the fucking wall. And furniture, like I think all the furniture in my apartment is probably made in China. My bed, my TV is from Japan, but that's like not common. And it's not like I don't know that there won't be a tariff on Japan. It's just maybe they'll wait to get wait to get a, we won't get around to it right away. So here's a Donald Trump talking about what will happen as Canada becomes the 51st state.
Like with Canada, we lose $200 billion a year with Canada. That's because we allow them to make cars. We allow them to take lumber. We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their food products because we make the same products right on the other side of the border. It's sort of crazy. So we've just allowed that.
So we don't get a lot of food from Canada.
You know, bad management has allowed it over the last 4 years in particular to become very imbalanced. And I said I call him Governor Trudeau, but he's Prime Minister Trudeau when he was Prime Minister. I asked him, why would we do that? Why? And he was unable to give me an answer. He said, I don't know. And I said, do you think it's fair that we're paying $200 billion to keep Canada going? And what would happen? I asked him, what would happen?
We're paying $200 to keep Canada going? Does he mean that's how much of their fucking products or billion? Does it mean that we spend that much money in buying products from them?
He said we'd be a failed nation. And I said, then you should be a state. Because why are we paying all of that money to Canada when, you know, we could use it ourselves, right? So we take care of their military. You know, we're going to order about 40 Coast Guard big icebreakers, big ones. And all of a sudden, Canada wants a piece of the deal. They say, why are we doing that? I mean, I like doing that if they're a state, but I don't like doing that if they're a nation. Also, they've been very nasty to us on trade. Historically, Canada has been very, very bad to us, very unfair to us on trade. So we'll see how it all works out. I would love to see Canada be the 51st state. The Canadian citizens, if that happened, would get a very big tax cut, tremendous tax cut, because they're very highly taxed. And you wouldn't have to worry about military. You wouldn't have to worry about many of the things. You'd have better health coverage. You'd have much
better health coverage. You'd have better health coverage, friend. Oh man, this is okay. So yeah, they do pay more, like more taxes as a percentage of their income in Canada. They do, but they like get value out of it. Like by that I mean they don't get a nasty fucking bill from, not just like every month from their health insurance provider, but then like even if you do have health insurance here in the United States, sometimes you know something happens or whatever, and you have to go to the doctor or maybe even the emergency room, and then after that you know you're in there, you're like, oh, I have health insurance, and after that some bill comes, and then you're like, what the fuck am I paying for health insurance for? That doesn't happen to people in Canada. Is their system perfect? Well, no, but that doesn't happen there. Everybody's covered. It comes out of it comes out of your taxes. There are copays. But you never hear anybody going fucking broke over it. All right, up next, something about lines, Greenland, and Canada.
By the way, when you take away that artificial line that looks like it was done with a ruler, and that's what it was. Some guy sat there years ago and they said, rah. Well, when you take away that and you look at that beautiful formation of Canada and the United States, there is no place anywhere in the world that looks like that. It's
plus Greenland,
so
plus Greenland.
And then if you add Greenland, that's even. That's pretty.
It's gonna look beautiful.
Okay.
Wait, who are these people at the fucking press conference? They're like, it's gonna be beautiful. Oh yeah, don't forget about Greenland. There are other places in the world that look a lot like the U.S. Canadian border. Basically, any place that's around the same latitude, I think latitude is up and down, and gets about the same amount of precipitation. And also, like, along the border, there's like mountains, there's like high desert, there's fucking like there's plains, there's like all different kinds of topography. What does he mean nothing looks like that? I mean, I guess nothing looks exactly like that when you go like mile for mile or fucking 100 meters for 100 meters. But what a dumb fucking thing to say. Up next, we got Sean Hannity. Has always been a suck up to power, and here's him sucking up to power.
And by the way, you know what? I hate what they're doing to this guy. I'm going to go out. A friend of mine has a Tesla. I've driven it. I loved it. It's a great car. And I just frankly want to support someone who's given up an awful lot to help our president, help our country, save us a ton of money, and get us on the right track. And
this is they're generally good cars. Some of the fit and finish is not great on them. I have friends who own them. I have a friend who has a Model Y, and one of my dad's friends, I don't know if he still has it, has a Model S, and it's a good car. They're good cars, but they're not like the fit and finish on them and stuff. It is not up to like the standards of like Toyota or Honda or like BMW or Mercedes. It just isn't. And then that fucking Incel Camino vehicle, like that thing looks like shit. And the only thing about it is that it's fast, like relative to like other pickup trucks, but other electric trucks are just as fast. And I don't know if y'all have seen it, but that fucking Rivian electric truck looks great. It looks like a futuristic version of a fucking truck that someone would buy. I think all the trucks are too big. When I was a kid, back in my day, when my parents' friends had a pickup truck, they had like those little Toyotas that ran forever. They were at the same size bed as these monstrous trucks, and they got like twice the gas mileage. Yeah, somebody in chat was saying the Ford F-150, the Maverick or whatever, it looks pretty sweet. Although, like I said, I've been saying this for a while. What Ford should do is put out basically a Ranger that's electric. And I don't know if they have. Anyway, we're moving on here to there's, I guess, more of this Tesla commercial in front of the White House, in which Donald Trump is now suggesting that people who protest at a Tesla dealership are terrorists. He's calling it, and this guy's calling everybody a fucking terrorist. Everybody's a terrorist now. I'm a terrorist. You're a terrorist. Everybody a terrorist.
Some say they should be labeled domestic terrorists.
I will do that. I'll do it. I'm going to stop them. We catch anybody doing it because they're harming a great American company. You know, I've stuck up for the NFL. I've stuck up for a lot of American companies and other companies, but American companies. I did a very big favor for the NFL. I do favors for all of them. When you heard an American...
What favor did you do for the NFL?
Like this supplies so many jobs that others are unable to do. When you do that, those people are going to go through a big problem when we catch them. And we got a lot of cameras up. We already know who some of them are. We're going to catch them. And they're bad guys. They're the same guys that screw around with our schools and universities.
What?
Same garbage. And we're going to catch them. And let me tell you, you do it.
It's like there's just this amorphous person on the left that they don't like. Now it's like everybody. They're all the same kind of people. As if like people that are doing stuff they don't like in education are just, they have to be the same people who are protesting the Tesla dealership. Like, this is dumb.
You do it to any company, we're going to catch you and you're going to go through hell.
We're going to catch you, but do what? They were talking about protests. I mean, I guess there are people like, but that's mostly in other countries. Like in France, they be burning shit down because that's how France rolls. But here they're just like fucking showing up at the Tesla dealership and protesting. Up now we got Apartheid Clyde on Larry Kudlow, the Kudlow Show, talking about his Doge fucking organization. The guy's like a black hole of charisma.
I'm just here trying to make government more efficient, eliminate waste and fraud, and so far we're making good progress, actually. So our savings at this point exceed $4 billion a day. Mm-hmm. So it's very significant.
You think saving $4 billion? No, you're not. How could you be saving $4 billion a day? What does that even mean?
You'll wind up getting to $1 trillion.
Yeah,
of savings.
I mean, unless we're stopped, we will get to $1 trillion of savings.
And that stuff can be translated. I mean, we've been talking. We had Russell Vogt, the OMB director.
But could you translate that into something that isn't a lie, maybe for us? Translate that into something that isn't bullshit.
through very rescission authority, impoundment authority. But I believe you said it earlier. It's an audit that will not gather dust on shelves. This is actually going to wind up with real savings, bend the spending baseline down.
Yeah, but when you do an audit, you get like there's accountants that they specialize in that. They're like forensic accountants, and you used to have some of those working for the those people that got fired. And now they got fired, and I forget who they are. They were they fired all of them. That they were like some kind of like auditors essentially for the government. And now my brain just got scrambled, and I forget who that inspectors general. That's who those are. Yeah, they're inspectors general. They're like forensic accountants, and they oversee government agencies to root out fraud and abuse. What they're doing is like going in there and they're like running a grep command or something and being like, find DEI. Control F. Trans. That's not an audit. Oh, this is great. Twitter either broke or got DDoSed or something. I don't even know what happened. There was a group, sort of tangentially, if my understanding is correct, related to what people would refer to as anonymous, that took credit for it. But apartheid Clyde can't have any of that. It's gotta be fucking Ukraine did it.
There was a cyber attack on X today, which shut it down and may have been foreign sourced. Yes. It's a big story. You want to give us a moment on that?
Well, we're not sure exactly what happened, but there was a massive cyber attack to try to bring down the X system with IP addresses originating in the Ukraine area.
Does he not know how this fucking... When people do stuff like this, they do everything they can to try to throw people off their tail, right? The amorphous internet hacker groups or whatever will take credit, but the individuals that are doing it are going to try very, very hard to make sure that you can't find them specifically, that you can't maybe even get a nation state location on them. Does it always work? No. Did Elon fucking figure out where it was coming from the day that it happened? While he was like, I don't know, running around doing whatever, showing people his botched penis surgery and offering to buy them a horse or whatever the fuck he does all day? No, absolutely not. So he just there was probably nobody even told him that it originated in Ukraine. I think he just made that shit up. If we're being completely honest here, I don't think that he's just wrong. I think he's just lying. Oh, I know this hasn't been great so far, but like the things have been like sort of like you haven't vomited yet.
We cannot survive as a country. So people ought to be kissing the feet of Elon Musk and Donald Trump for being the two people to actually do this.
Oh. Everybody all right? God. All right. This is Tim Burchett. He's been on the docket a lot lately. He's been out there. Like, I think the last time we watched, and if I'm not mistaken, it was either this last Sunday or the Sunday before, where I think he got wrecked by, like, was it Maria Bartiromo or somebody that just accidentally fucking destroyed this guy? Well, here he is on CNN trying to defend apartheid Clyde and the so-called DOJ thing, and did not have a good time. He seemed to be in a bad mood, and had a bit of an we'll call it maybe a temper tantrum.
We just had a meeting just now in oversight. There are 7 days. Somebody said, well, it's just so infantile, it's so small. And then it turned out, I asked, was it a percentage? And they said 7 to 8%, over $150 billion that is being misdirected or stolen or whatever through fraudulent or human
I'm just
error.
trying to have
Why
a
don't you embrace that?
conversation.
Why don't you all at CNN want to?
She's like, I'm trying to host my show. I haven't even asked you a question yet.
Do a little math with you. I'm trying to do some math with you, talking about math that people
you all do not support one cut. CNN, you all do not support one.
He's so mad. Oh, he's so mad. This guy. Also, her producer needs to just cut him off. I don't give a fuck. I know these people live and die on access or whatever, but her producer needs to, like, he's got an earpiece in too, and the producer needs to get in this guy's ear and be like, listen, you can't do this. You can't do this to my colleague. If you want to continue this interview, you will let the host ask questions and you will answer them. They're all like scared to death of losing access to this dude.
One dadgum cut in any of this stuff. You're trying to use the lowest denominator. You're trying to scare the most people to drive the train against Trump, and it's not working. The American people are not buying it, and you all have made a huge error in this because
we're looking at
unbelievable waste.
I'm looking at the numbers.
No, ma'am, No, ma'am.
I'm looking at the numbers that DOJ has put out themselves. They say they're cutting contracts that have already ended. They say they're cutting a big amount. It turns out it's actually a smaller amount. That's just math, Congressman, and we're going to continue to keep looking at the math.
Are you saying there's not? Are you saying there's not? Well, look at the math. Are you saying there's not billions of dollars of waste, abuse, and fraud in federal government? Are you trying to say that? Because everybody out there knows.
I don't need to tell you that. There's CBO estimates. That's what we're trying to discuss is the actual number. We're trying to have, at least I'm trying to have an honest conversation with you about the numbers and CBO estimates and the numbers that experts on this topic expect there to be. Congressman Tim Burchett, thanks for joining us.
Unnamed experts, thank y'all so much for having me.
Great to have you, sir. Stay with me.
Great to have you, sir. I think that's the new bless your heart. I think the great to have you, sir, is she was starting to get a little frustrated. You could tell she was starting to get a little frustrated. And that's why I'm glad I don't actually work for anybody. Like, if I try to interview somebody and they do that to me, I just fucking mute them. Fuck it. Mute them. Like, there's no point. Up next up, Bill Nye, the science guy. We haven't heard of him a lot lately. He, I guess, doesn't like Elon Musk very much.
Hi, the science guy joining us here. It's good to see you. The entire federal government is getting hit by this, and you just heard that from that former employee of NOAA. What impacts do you see coming from these cuts?
Well, first of all, everybody, let's understand, I think, what happened. Elon Musk and his guys were revving up. And, I'm an engineer. We love engineering. I used to work on failure effects and modes analysis for airplanes. So these guys found what they thought was the vulnerable part of the U.S. government, which is this digital services office. So they got in there and changed all the passwords and messed everything up as fast as they could. And then along that line, the system was not set up for it. But understand what's going on. By firing people at NOAA has a lot of satellites, and that's how these weather predictions are made. When I was young, when I was a kid, if a hurricane path was predicted within 60, 70 nautical miles, everybody would, that was amazing. Well, now it's within 5 or 6 nautical miles because of the efficacy or the quality of the software and the satellites that do the weather analysis and the people who work on it. Well, Mr. Musk has this company Starlink, and he's proposing that NOAA be supplanted by a private company.
Yeah, dude, yeah, it's amazing. This is like, people aren't like saying this, that he's just in there trying to like find places where him and his buddies can replace the services provided by the federal government.
And just to the young guys that have gone to work on this, that have gone into the digital services office to destroy or mess up our electronic systems, keep in mind that this is fundamental corruption. It's just corruption when you're trying to monopolize a government service. And say what you will about Woodrow Wilson back in the old days, he was a big anti-monopoly guy. This is trying to undo the robber barons. And so If you read the book about Elon Musk and so on, there's a whole section on his unrealistic goal setting. So he found this weakness in the U.S. government, exploited it as fast as he could, and now it's just one thing's leading to another, and he's trying to undo a public service and supplant it with one of his. And this is just good old corruption. So sooner or later, I believe the court system will catch up with these guys. And so it's just going to be, I talk about efficiency. Destroying a system that was working and then trying to replace it later is inefficient.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Like, changing these big systems is difficult, but it's especially difficult if you just tear the old one down and you're like, fuck, we need a system immediately. Well, now you're going to get a system that really doesn't work. Now, it might have been interesting to go in and replace some of these systems, like slowly, piecemeal. That's interesting because I think a lot of it's running Unix. Like, a lot of it's written in COBOL. So because of the way Unix, because the way Linux is a copy essentially of Unix, you could go in and slowly start replacing things. And in fact, I would be surprised if that wasn't happening. But that doesn't, nobody gets any headlines for that. You don't get to act like you're some big reformer or that you're going in there and fixing everything if you do that, right? That's boring shit that nobody knows about and fucking nobody cares about except dorks like me.
We heard from that employee, Bill, who said it's like asking for a disaster to happen. What concerns do you have on that front, given the valuable service that NOAA provides?
Well, the other thing, the climate is changing. You can say to yourself it's not, and you can take campaign financing from the fossil fuel industry, and you can pretend the climate's not changing and hurricanes aren't becoming more frequent and flooding isn't more. There's forest fires, wildfires in the Carolinas. That didn't used to be a thing, everybody. It's because weather patterns have changed and things dried out in an extraordinary fashion that they didn't used to do. You can pretend that's not happening, but it is. And this is where NOAA's service helped us prepare and deal with that. And it certainly informs where to apply whatever limited resources you have to disaster relief. So it's just everybody, the reason you have public service is to serve the public. And by dismantling this public service, you are not serving the public. And I understand where this came from. This engineer who looked for the weakness, found the weakness, exploited the weakness as fast as he unrealistically could, and now we have a system that's broken in many ways that has to be rebuilt. So yeah, this is in nobody's best interest.
So the only thing there is that Elon Musk isn't really an engineer. He's a capitalist. I don't think that he does any engineering work. And but otherwise, like, Bill Nye's right on. Yeah, the most inefficient way to update something is to just go in and break it. Up next, we got JD Vance. He's talking at the League of Cities, which I'm sure the people there love him, and he loves the people in cities, let me tell you. He's going to say that undocumented people are increasing the cost of living for the average American.
A massive increase in immigration and a massive increase in housing prices. And we have to be honest about that. Well, I see one of our nice representatives out here wants to actually, I guess, continue to flood the country with illegal immigrants, making your communities and citizens unaffordable.
So there's foreign money coming in and buying up property and driving up rent. That's happening, but those are JD Vance's buddies, right? Those are the kind of people in other countries that he be liking. People coming here who don't have their paperwork and stuff. They're not driving up the rent in your neighborhood. They're not driving up the cost to buy a house in the place where, if you're fortunate enough to be able to buy property, then they're not driving that up. That's not happening. They're just not. So And he is never, ever in a million years going to go after any sort of investment firms that are buying up residential housing, because those are his homies. Here's a J.D. Vance. He went to the Kennedy Center.
Kill that light!
You hear that one person clapping? He probably planted somebody in there to clap. Boo these people everywhere they go. These people, like, that's a bit of a double-edged sword, because then he can be like, oh, the elites at the fucking Kennedy Center were booing me, but like, boo these people. This guy isn't interested in the fucking cultural event that's going there. He's going there because he can. He's going there specifically, I think, to piss off the people who were booing at him. So again, I think that there's ways in which it's not perfect, but fucking boo him. Fucking boo him. So, there's a measles outbreak in Texas that was probably going to jump the border, as they might say, into neighboring states and maybe neighboring countries. Man, that'd be a little bit weird, wouldn't it? The president of Mexico bitching about America sending over measles. Because usually that rhetoric goes the other way, right? It's usually, oh, the fucking dirty Mexicans are giving us diseases. Well, I hope it gets contained. I don't want fucking people's kids and fucking adults and vulnerable people getting measles and getting really ill and or dying and possibly spreading it inside the hospitals. I don't want that. So vaccines are pretty important. Here's RFK Jr. after putting something on his blog telling everybody to get the vaccine.
Conversation with Governor Abbott of Texas has been this. It's relatively small. We have had measles outbreaks long before you were Health and Human Services Secretary. There was one in New York, a small one last year, for example.
We had 16 measles outbreaks last year.
Yeah.
Some years we have hundreds of measles outbreaks.
Right.
Measles
outbreaks doesn't mean one person gets it
every year. And, part of that is that there are people who don't vaccinate, but also the vaccine itself wanes. The vaccine wanes about 4.5% per year. So that means older people are essentially unvaccinated. Their immune system is not protected. And one of the problems is that
it doesn't, I don't think that's true. I don't think it wanes 4.5% a year like reverse compound interest.
Shift measles infections to older groups.
Oh God. No, I mean, am I behind on a booster for it? Maybe. But is it useless now because I'm almost 50 that I got it? I got one when I was a kid, and I'm sure whatever the schedule was that my parents certainly kept up with it. Might I have missed some sort of booster that I might have otherwise gotten in adulthood? Possibly. But what he was just saying there, I'm sure as I can be, is just not true. Or if it is true, it was presented in an incredibly misleading way, as a lot of anti-vaccine rhetoric is. Here's more. They're at a diner. Make America healthy again.
It's relatively small. We have had measles outbreaks long before you were Health and Human Services Secretary. There was one in New York, a small one last year, for example.
We had 16 measles outbreaks last year.
Yeah.
Some years we have hundreds of measles outbreaks.
Right.
Hundreds of measles? Okay, what? 100? I don't think there are hundreds of cases. Does he mean worldwide? Is he including Jupiter?
Measles outbreaks every year. And, part of that is that there are people who don't vaccinate, but also the vaccine itself wanes. The vaccine wanes about 4.5% per year. So that means older people are essentially unvaccinated. Their immune system is not protected. And one of the problems is that tends to shift measles infections to older groups.
Who's getting infected in Texas? Is it old people? I think it's fucking kids, right? It's children.
And also to very young children.
Yeah.
So, if you get
like the vulnerable, the reason that we vaccinate in the first place is the vulnerable.
It used to be when you and I were kids, everybody got measles.
Okay, so he's talking, this is not true. Okay, I don't know how much older. He's not that much older than I am. I don't think everybody got, he's talking about chickenpox, right? I think he's literally talking about chickenpox. He's going to tell you about chickenpox party.
And the measles gave you lifetime protection against measles infection. The vaccine doesn't do that. The vaccine is effective for some people for life, but many people it wanes. And one of the problems is it does not appear to provide maternal immunity. It used to be a very young kid. You don't want a 1-year-old kid getting measles. That's very dangerous. They were protected by breast milk and by maternal immunity. But women who get vaccinated do not provide that level of maternal immunity that the natural measles infection did. So you're now seeing measles hit very, very young kids and hitting older people within whom the vaccine has waned. And that is something that we need to worry about and that we're looking at HHS.
First of all, Governor.
So I'm not buying the thing about the vaccine waning and that's why older people are getting it. I don't know. But I think the reason that it's spreading is because there's such a low vaccination rate in some of these schools. And, but if, let's say that it is because it's waning, right? Let's say that it wanes. Is he going to suggest that we go get a booster? Because I don't think he's going to suggest that at all. He is not going to suggest that. And here he is talking about that the vaccine actually is the reason that people are getting the measles. Because, of course,
the government shouldn't force them to do it. There are adverse events from the vaccine. It does cause deaths every year. Does
the MMR vaccine cause deaths every year?
It causes all the illnesses that measles itself causes, encephalitis and blindness, etc. And so people ought to be able to make that choice for themselves. And what we need to do is give them the best information and encourage them to vaccinate. The vaccine does stop the spread of the disease.
I want everyone to just.
He put that in there, and then I bet what we watched Sean Hannity do is go, I want everybody to listen to that. Everybody calls this guy an anti-vaxxer, but he just said we should encourage people to get a disease or to get a vaccine. Well, we should encourage people to get a vaccine. It's very different than saying something like I have encouraged people to get the vaccine, which he hasn't done. We're fucked. There were no measles outbreaks. It was more or less eradicated. More or less eradicated. This is just incorrect. All right, up next, I found this funny. We got Greg Gutfeld saying there's no podcasts on the left. Zero lefties and liberals are doing podcasts.
That is why there are no podcasts on the left.
Joe Rogan may have some competition. The anti-Trump Midas Touch podcast snagged the top spot on the charts this week. And right now it is still sitting at number 1 on iTunes and Podscribe. So why does this matter? Well, the podcast charts have been dominated by conservative and pro-Trump voices. Some credit them for helping Trump get elected. But now, after just 1 month in office, it seems like America's listeners could be shifting views. I want to bring in the Midas Touch podcast hosts, Ben, Brett, and Jordy Mycelis. 3 brothers who I'm guessing did not think in their careers they would end up being podcast superstars.
Come on. The fact that now the fucking news has podcast brain. They're like, this podcast beat out Joe Rogan. People must be shifting to the left. No, you're stupid. A lot of people listen to podcasts, but not a lot, not that many, not enough. that it's like the metrics from Apple Podcasts or any other podcast metric provider is like a litmus test for the United States. That just is not. That is, there's no way that is a litmus test. So now we got the segment of people being booed and just otherwise run out of their town hall meetings. This is in Asheville, North Carolina. This is a representative, Chuck Edwards.
I think I sense maybe a faction in this room of folks that might not have voted for President Trump, and I'll say that I happen to believe very much that President Trump supports our Constitution. And I sleep good at night knowing that every vote that I cast is in support of our Constitution and your freedoms and limited government.
Our next question comes.
All right. That guy's an idiot. But don't worry, we have a question actually that someone in the audience asked. Now, I have small quibble with the guy in the audience, but he's not like he doesn't speak publicly for a living or whatever. But here we go.
Do you support the annexation of Canada and/or Greenland? And this is a yes or no question. I don't want you to wander off into the woods. I don't want to hear about your latest week in your office.
Okay. So my quibble here is when the guy walked away with the microphone, Pops here should have just let it be, because that's a good question. Do you support the annexation of Canada and Greenland? And I just want you to answer me yes or no. I don't want some fucking bullshit from you.
I'm trying to get your opinion on this as a yes or no. Do you support Trump on annexing Canada or Greenland? And do you like the way he treats the premier or the president of Canada, calling him governor? Is that the way you do as a diplomat? Is that the way the United States should act to our closest neighbors? You know, is this? And I've still got a little more.
See, there's too much there. The problem is this is going to let him run away, right? It's going to let the representative run away from the question. Now you've asked fucking too many questions. I understand that this guy, this might even be a former Trump voter. I don't know. This guy is like frustrated with the state of his government. And this is probably the only access he's ever going to get to this elected official. And so like, I understand the desire to say more, but the right when that microphone got taken away, man, it would have been great to make him just fucking answer that shit.
Do you enjoy the way he's tried to extort minerals from the Ukraine? Do you like bullying people that need your help? Do you go for kicking the guy when he's down? Do you support Trump in these things? And this is a yes or no.
The no's in there. Let me answer the first one. And then there was one that really stuck out that I'd like to also answer. I believe your first question that you wanted yes or no is, do I support annexing Greenland and Canada? The short answer to that is no, I do not. There was another question in there. I think it was, do I support a deal? I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit. A deal with Ukraine in obtaining minerals and helping the United States taxpayer recoup the $140 billion or so that we.
Well, at least he knows the number and isn't fucking saying it's 300 like everybody else.
Sent over there. The answer is yes, I do support that.
We'll go to our next.
So, yeah, I would have just left it at, the, again, fucking still kind of shout out to Old Timer there. Again, you don't get access to your like representatives. And I think he just wanted to, he wanted to have his say. And that's a reasonable thing to want. Not everybody's media trained, right? Not everybody is, has a political consultant or even like a chat on Twitch to tell them when they fucked up. Be like, Dave, why did you keep talking? So that was all of our booing of representatives. There were others, but I just didn't get them, didn't see them, whatever. It was a busy week for me. I'd been sleeping on this a little bit, and I think we have, and I think the people on the left have. Dan Crenshaw and Tucker Carlson do not like each other. And I feel like the broader left, I don't mean like leftists. I mean like everybody from like the shit libs all the way out to the left. We need to be like driving a wedge between people who don't like each other. And this is fucking amazing. Fuck Dan Crenshaw, but I mean, whatever.
Not with me. I always thought he was a freak and a warmonger.
Really? Yeah.
Weirdo. Yeah. He's a freak and a warmonger weirdo, but yeah.
He's showing it now.
Dan, your response to being a freak, a warmonger, and a weirdo.
Yeah, well, this is typical for Tucker. Tucker has no actual substance, right? He's been attacking me since 2022 when he became obsessed with me. I live rent-free in that little mongrel's head. And people ask me all the time, like, why does he hate you? And I'm like, the fact that you can't answer that question is indicative of the fact that he has no actual substance. See, I can tell you why Mehdi disagrees with me. I can tell you why Mehdi doesn't like me. At least he has, I disagree with them all, but at least he has things that he disagrees with me on. Tucker never actually says anything. It's just insults. He'll use my war wound to insult me. He's a weird bad guy. I mean, and people should not be tricked by his supposed stance against the DC insider elites, right? Because he literally is that. I mean, people should know, what's on the Hunter Biden laptops? What's funny? Emails from Tucker Carlson to Hunter Biden, asking Hunter Biden for help to get Tucker's son into Georgetown. Tucker's a silver spoon-fed trust fund baby. Went to
fuck yeah, get him. I mean, I fuck you too, but fuck yeah.
School guy. It's just the epitome of the DC elites who pretends to fight against it in order to corner a market in the media.
So that was the other thing that he didn't have to do there. That you don't got to give it to Dan Crenshaw. He's kind of a ghoul, but he didn't have to like be nice sort of to Mehdi Hasan, right? Because he didn't have to say that, hey, I actually know why Mehdi Hasan doesn't like me. He's able to articulate it. This is essentially what he's saying. And he didn't have to do that. And I don't know if that's actually not bad. That's a good way to like frame what he was saying. And he's right about Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is not like against the elite. Like, what the fuck? Like, motherfucker used to wear a bow tie. I'm sorry, you don't, unless it's for a costume, or if you're Bill Nye's the elite too. But Bill Nye isn't going to pretend that he's like not a rich guy. I hope that this keeps going. We should find ways to throw a fucking gasoline on this particular fire because it's a lot of fun. Up next, we have Paula White. She used to be Trump's spiritual advisor. I don't know if she still is. She'll probably claim that she is, but I don't know who Trump's spiritual advisor is these days. But there is a narrow window. It's a prophetic season for God to bless you, but you got to give her $133. And while you're at it, give me $133.
Here's what God is saying in this prophetic season. If you hold your peace, if you do not participate, if you hold back now, if you miss this moment, there will be enlargement and deliverance for God's people and his purposes. But God can't use you. He doesn't use spectators. He uses participators, people who say, yes, I partner with you, God. And
you almost wouldn't notice that she's got what appears to be somebody playing the piano behind her. I don't know if she's on a green screen and that's just like some piano thing that she fucking stole from somebody without crediting them, Or if she's got some fucking freak playing the piano behind her.
And being raised up for such a time as this. I declare, do not miss your moment. You're in a position for such a time as this. Go forward boldly into your destiny in the courage and the spirit of Esther. So what are you going to do? You see, I have to be obedient to God. And you must sacrifice in some way during this.
But what if God told you to shut the fuck up?
Season. Because it's through sacrifice that your spirit opens up so wide that you can receive divine direction.
Excuse you?
This is a deliverance seed that needs to be sown now, to be in position, to see increase, to activate God's promises. And if you're able, I challenge you to sow $133 because we sow in accordance to the word. I love to get a word from God and put my faith with it.
Get a word.
133 stands for Proverbs 133.
Well, why not ask for $1.33 then? My God. Like, I'm going to get a word from God, but I don't even have to pay for it. Right? I wouldn't like it very much if like God was out there extorting people like this woman. She's clearly got some problems. But that would be not as bad as what she's doing. She's trying to get you to pay so that God talks to her so that she can tell you that God said to send her more money. Just goes around and around and around and around. When it stops, she gets to pick up the bag. We got the Piers Morgan show. We got 2 clips of Piers Morgan. This one, we're just calling this Piers Morgan show continues to be a total shit show. I don't know the context here. I'm assuming they're talking about Gaza. And we may find out that the fucking dude on the right on the right side of the fucking frame here is a giant piece of shit. But for at least while we're watching this clip, the dude on the right, we're on his team.
Hamas,
right.
Thank you.
Okay, Omar, what do you respond to that?
Sure. I mean, first, it is quite rich to hear Rabbi Shmuley complain about anybody interrupting. He's pretty much a 3-trick pony. He's either interrupting, or he's lying, or he's smearing people.
Ad hominem. Are you really going to get into ad hominem?
No. So this is not ad hominem. These people just think anytime you make a negative character assessment or say something bad about their ongoing behavior that you're doing an ad hominem. An ad hominem is like, and I hate to do this, but media wench, you don't know what you're talking about. You're a woman. Right? And I would never say that because media wench, if I said that and meant it, would get in her car and drive to Oakland and remove my head from my body. But that's like what ad hominem is. It's like there's something about you that means that you're wrong or less than. It isn't that I have observed your behavior and these are the things that you do. That is not ad hominem.
Do you really have to personalize it?
Like if he's the guy, supposedly the guy to Pierce's right is a rabbi, and if he's like, "Oh, you're a rabbi, what would you know about this?" That's ad hominem. But the guy's like, "Dude, you fucking," he's like, "Here's the things that you do," and then like before he even got done saying the things that this guy does, the dude started proving him right.
The facts, please.
There's the first
Stop
trick.
The ad
That's the interruption
attacks.
trick.
Go ahead.
He's demonstrating it.
Please don't do the ad hominem,
his first
please.
trick for you right now.
Oh, and I guess ad hominem, what they call an attack, is different than the ad hominem fallacy. But this guy isn't even really insulting him either. He's like, this guy does these 3 things.
In fact, Piers, frankly, if your audience watching at home were playing a drinking game in which they took a shot every time he either lied or interrupted, half of your audience would be dead before the program
is just ad hominem. Do you know facts or not? Do you want to debate fact or do you want to insult me?
Are you going to keep interrupting? Are you going to keep complaining about interrupting and then do your own interrupting? Are you just going to demonstrate your hypocrisy to everyone on television?
Here we go. Hypocrisy, liar. We know what you think about Jews. Debate the facts.
What the fuck? He didn't say, no, you're lying. He didn't say, he's saying things about you, which based on the interaction that I'm seeing here, I'm going with the fucking, what was his name? Omar over on the right. Omar be correct. I'm just guessing here that he'd be correct based on the exchange we're seeing here.
Forget the evil me and debate the facts.
Unbelievable level of hypocrisy. You are demonstrating your hypocrisy right now by continually interrupting when you don't like what you're hearing. I'll set the insults if that's even possible with dealing with people like you. Now, Rabbi Shmuley actually fucking
get him. I bet both of these people are probably fucking ghouls, right?
Understands that the reason why there's no electricity in Gaza is because Israel. Can you be quiet? Can you be quiet and let me finish what I have to say? Rabbi Shmuley knows extremely well that the reason why there is no electricity in Gaza is because Israel bombs the infrastructure in Gaza and then puts Gaza under siege and does not allow Palestinians to rebuild their own power plants. They've created a situation of dependence where Gaza cannot survive on its own economically. It has to depend on Israel, and that is by design because Israel wants to be able to shut off the electricity at any point. Rabbi Shmuley knows this, but he tries to play on the uninformed audiences. He takes them for fools and hopes that they won't be able to see through the idiocy that he's actually demonstrating right now.
So now I'm an idiot.
Anybody with a functioning
idiot. Come on, any
brain
other insult?
will understand
Have you
very
got a
well
thesaurus
that
in
the
front of you?
reason why Gaza is not free is because Israel prevents it
Google
from being
more
free.
personal insults. You can't deal with a single historical fact that I said, so you've called me an idiot, hypocrite, a liar. Let me tell you something. See, this is what we call...
Well, the first thing you said is that you interrupt people all the time, and then before you even finished basically saying that, you started yelling before he could finish what he was saying, which proved him correct.
You think your narrative is made up of facts? Are you kidding me?
I quoted to you the Peel Commission, the UN, the Omer deal. You cannot respond to a single one. So what do you have to do? Ad hominem. Deal with me as a person and try to suppress your hatred for Jews. Thank you.
Yes, quiet down. Yeah, again, the smear of anti-Semitism. That's the second trick. Really, if people are taking shots, I mean, try to keep track of how much alcohol they're consuming at this.
Oh my God. So I'm assuming that Omar is has a reasonable take or whatever. I'm assuming. Piers Morgan is a giant piece of shit. This rabbi guy sounds like he's just yelling, demonstrating the criticisms. And then Aaron Mate, just to the right of center here, is like the dumb left. He's just like a stand-in for like the dumb left, as far as I understand. Not that he's to my left. It's just that he's a dumb. And so, I don't know, good that Aaron Mate didn't speak, I suppose. That might be controversial, but I'm pretty sure he blocked me on Twitter. So, I'm in the right because I got blocked on Twitter. Up next, we got, speaking of dum-dums, we got Dave Rubin on the Piers Morgan show. And he's going to... There's a famous saying, I think it's by Margaret Thatcher, right? That socialists can never have enough of other people's money or whatever. And Dave Rubin is going to butcher that and probably not credit the person that he stole it from.
Elon Musk is a defense contractor himself, and that is why you're not going to see him talking about cuts to people like him who personally have hundreds of millions of dollars worth of wealth that they've gotten through government.
Oh, this is a nightmare panel. We got fucking Piers Morgan, Dave Rubin. I don't know who the gal in the center is. I don't know who the gal. And then there's fucking Joe Walsh. Fuck Joe Walsh.
Contracts. No, they want to throw your grandmother out of the hospital and your family members onto the street.
Okay, Dave, they want to throw your family into the street.
It's so boring and it's so thin. Yes, Elon's doing all of this to make more money. He was like, yes, I really need another yacht. I don't even know that he has a yacht. He doesn't. You're the guy who walks around in old ratty t-shirts. That's number one. Number two, let's try it this way. I would say, Brianna, in some sense, you're kind of directionally right in some of this stuff, but let's try it this way. First, as Emily pointed out, no one's talking about bringing down Medicaid and taking out these programs. They're talking about getting the waste and fraud out, which it is obvious. There are 150-year-olds that are getting benefits.
No, there are not 150. This is the problem with thinking that things are obvious, because then all you end up doing is it's just like straight. There's not even any mental gymnastics that you have to do. It's not even like confirmation bias. Like you're not. It doesn't even raise to the level of confirmation bias when you say something is obvious or something is like common sense or whatever. All you're doing is you're like essentially trying to stop the discussion and saying that I'm right. It's common sense. I'm right.
100-year-olds getting benefits.
That's not
get
true.
The waste and
you have to rely on lies like that to manufacture consent to cut a popular policy. That's a patent lie.
But no one's saying cut the policy. They're saying get the waste out of the policy. But let's try it a different way.
David,
I would be for lowering taxes on everybody. I would be for lowering taxes on absolutely everybody, so the government has less money to.
Look at how frustrating it is to talk to Dave Rubin. Oh my God. Oh, it's so frustrating. I'd rather talk to the fucking yelling Israel supporter from the last video than try to deal with Dave Rubin. Man, if fucking like this Brianna Joy Gray, I'd forgotten who she was. If fucking steam doesn't start coming out her ears in the next couple minutes here, I'm going to be real proud of her.
That's not what's happening. And spend on
nonsensical things. I want you to keep more of your money. Do you want me to keep more of my money?
No, because you're a millionaire, Dave Rubin. I don't think you should keep more of your money, and that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing.
So you want to take more money?
Wait a minute.
He was like, gotcha. And she's like, no, I don't want you to keep more of your money. You're a fucking millionaire. She's like, you have plenty. And he just fucking, he fucking starts talking right over her again. Oh, man.
What right do you have to take my money? And do what you want
I hate to break it to the panel, but poor people work hard too. Wait a minute. I hate to break it to the panel,
and they should pay less taxes too. I want everyone to pay.
Yeah, but if you cut to poor people, there's already like tax incentives for people who don't make a lot of money at the state and federal level. I bet they're going to fucking get rid of that shit too, right? Where there's going to be no tax breaks. If you're you're going to be at the lowest tax bracket, but you're going to pay approaching 100% of what's allowable in that bracket. I think a lot of poor people already do because they're, they don't have the resources to have somebody do their taxes for them in a lot of cases.
As taxes.
They've been working just as hard as they've been working since the middle part of the last century.
This is why the left is
They've been working as hard as they've been working. I think it's really fascinating that if someone sticks up for working people in this country, they're called a communist.
I want working people to have more of their money.
You want Dave Rubin to give up more of his money.
How there was a chicken.
I think Dave Rubin is too stupid to have money. So yes, I want Dave Rubin to give up money. Hopefully Dave Rubin's husband, Dave, is the one managing the money.
Taught and how Americans were so much happier in the 1950s. Well, in the 1950s, the top marginal tax rate was 90% on the top richest voters. That is how you end up getting a country and a social safety net where we have parks and swimming pools and schools and museums and safety and libraries and the kind of country that we remembered were on one family income you could support.
But how much of my money do you need? How much of Piers' money? I know he's not fully an American, but he's probably got more money than me. How much of Piers' money do you want?
The question shouldn't be whether or not.
Joe's probably doing okay. You could probably get some of his cash.
How much do you need? Money. I'm telling you, David. I'm telling you, Dave, that there are poor and immiserated people in this country.
Yeah, dude. What the fuck, dude? Imagine trying to explain something to Dave Rubin and having his fucking dumbass just fucking talk over you the whole time. That's got to be the most infuriating thing that has ever happened to anybody. Oh no. So this one is good. I like it. And I think we're going to be watching the longer version of this during red light. I think that's what the video we have, one of the videos we have for red light is. So Charlie Kirk is going back out and arguing with 19-year-olds, as these people all do. Well, this one's watch this. I don't know if you saw this. Watch this.
How do you defend Elon Musk hailing Hitler at the inauguration? If it wasn't a hail, then do it.
I love this audience so much.
If it wasn't a hail, then do it. Then do it.
Continue. I just
as a Jew, if it wasn't a hail, then do it.
I love this audience so much, and I want them all to be here. I just did it.
Do it. That's not what he did.
Yes, it is.
That's not what he did. Hand over the heart. Do it. Do it.
I literally just did it twice.
No, you did not. You did not.
Let's take a pause. Yeah. So in your heart of heart, you believe, I want to make sure I understand this, the man who oversees a $1 trillion company, after a president gets inaugurated, goes up on a stage and decides to himself, I know, I have an all-access pass to the White House. I'm worth $440 billion. I'm going to do a Sig Heil salute.
Yes, I do believe that. Do it.
No, but tell me what.
No, do it first. And then tell me it wasn't a hail. You you're a
yeah, that's how you. Fuck yeah, that's how you handle it like that. At the end, dude. After a while, you just do that. You just do that. You just call the dude a pussy. You're like, you won't do it. You're a fucking coward. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. We usually don't end the show on like a good note. That young man, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. He's over 21 and I see him at a bar. I don't have a lot of money. I'll use some of your money and I'll buy him a beer if he wants one, if I ever see him. Nobody, dude, this is how you have to deal with these people. First thing you do in this case, you're like, oh, it's not a Nazi salute. Well, then you do it. You do it. And then what you do, and it's unfortunate you have to do this, and I wish we didn't live in this kind of society, but then like somebody like Charlie Kirk, you start attacking his masculinity, right? Like calling somebody a pussy is a specific kind of thing, right? Like we don't like to call people that. I certainly try not to call people that on the air. I think it's misogynistic in some ways. But unfortunately, because of the misogynistic culture we live in, going after somebody like Charlie Kirk, calling him that versus a coward is a very different proposition. And it's and it goes after Charlie Kirk's, I guess, misguided and false idea of what masculinity is. So I guess that's the white lights part of the show. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Thanks everybody for sticking with me. And if people are listening on the podcast and want the rest of this show, you can go ahead and go to eplex.store or patreon.com/echoplex. Sign up at the $5 level or higher, and you can get the whole show in your inbox a day before it shows up on the podcatchers. But what I'd really prefer is come check out the live show sometime. Hang out, make friends, make enemies, learn about a new platform. I don't think most people who listen to podcasts aren't on Twitch. So with that, we're going to head on into red light. I do need to change the color of the lights and the contents of my beverage. But you'll be fine while you wait. If you're listening live, just hang out. This is Boomers by Periscope, and we'll be right back. I have some good shit for red light.